All right, my English teacher friends, I am excited to present this writing workshop to you. It's entitled Lisa Simpson, Retelling Where the Wild Things Are. So the other day, I was going over the nuts and bolts of composition with my AP students, my AP literature class, and I was talking about the concepts of voice, rhythm, flow, and we got talking about the elusive sophistication point. And this student out of the blue says, "Oh, hey, if I just turn on my inner Lisa Simpson, I can get the sophistication point." And it was like a magnificent light bulb illumined over my head. I was like, that's it. Lisa was always entering essay contests, and that voice that she encapsulates in those essays and when she gives speeches, that's kind of the pizzazz and the spunk that kids need, I think, to cop in terms of their voice, rhythm, flow, to be in contention for the sophistication point. So what I'm going to do in this is have Lisa Simpson retell the story of where the wild things are, and I will go through my entire unit with you, which I'm going to have students basically retell classic children's stories from the voice of an AP dream master, and I'll go over those characters in just a second. So to find Lisa Simpson's essay contest, all of her speeches and her essay contest, just go to YouTube and type in Lisa Simpson essay contest. And from what I gathered in the 20 plus years of Simpsons episodes, that she entered a number of essay contests, because there's a few of them on there. So scope them out. I have the graphic of the one that I'm using in class. It was like a regional essay contest. And then also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. So here is the AP Dream Voice team that I was alluding to earlier. And I asked my students, who else in like the pop cultural realm has that voice, rhythm, flow, that elusive it that Lisa Simpson has? And this is what my students came up with. These are the voices that they're going to try to emulate in their revisions of children's stories. Morgan Freeman, Lisa Simpson, as we've already said, Rory Gilmore from the Gilmore Girls. And I came up with this one, Ralphie, adult narrator Ralphie from The Christmas Story, David from Schitt's Creek, the commentator for the New York Knicks home basketball games. His name's Walt Clyde Frazier. A student came up with that, and I'm somewhat of a Knicks fan, and I know that guy's got he's a walking, talking lexicon. He's very amusing to listen to. Niles and Frazier, and then we went old school for this one. A lot of the characters in Northern Exposure, and I'm thinking Chris Stevens, the radio programmer, the radio host, definitely has the elusive it to get that 6 point on the rubric. Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City. And then they redid the Wonder Years, which I did not know of. But new Kevin Arnold and even old Kevin Arnold, I think, would be in contention for the sophistication point. So let's talk about this here. I'm a big believer of this. You have to teeter-totter your voice. And here's what I mean by that. Oftentimes, students have this erroneous idea that if they use $1 million words, that it's the equivalent of good writing. And I say, no. You sound pretentious, you sound contrived, you sound like a goon when you do that, right? When you force your vocab. So sophisticated writers stay in their lane, they stay in their wheelhouse, and they use quite a bit of tier 2 level vocabulary. And what I mean by that is SAT level caliber words, and I run intensive word study academies in my room to help my students augment their vocabs over the course of the year, and I got a ton of stuff in my YouTube channel about that. But they teeter-totter the voice between the tier 2, and you sprinkle in a little bit of colloquial and vernacular as well for that spunk, for that pizzazz, for that flair that sophisticated writers do. So what I did in this unit was I actually showed my students some video clips of our AP Dream Voice Master team. And I showed them this clip of Ralphie from A Christmas Story when he gets a little too expletive with his language and eats the soap that his mom puts in his mouth. Look at his language just as one particular example of this teeter-totter effect. Over the years, I got to be quite a connoisseur of soap. Though my personal preference was for Lux, I found that Palmolive had a nice piquant after-dinner flavor, heavy, but with a touch of mellow smoothness. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that my students are going to be working on with me. One is our Word Study Academy, but two is my Nuance Academy. I give extensive lessons on expressive syntax, and we use a text called Strunk and White's Write It Right. And in that text, they have something called rule number 18, in which they posit that there's 12 different ways to cobble together a single sentence. So my students in their recitations of these children's books hopefully will be able to wield some complex sentences like Ralphie did just here. That second sentence is complex. Students need to be able to do that from time to time. Not all the time, but just time to time. So note, he begins with a short, simple declarative, independent clause, and then boom, complicated sentence. So to be able to weave those back and forth together again. So let me give you the guidelines for this particular assignment. So first and foremost, I want students to teeter-totter their voice between Tier 2 colloquial vernacular, and then base the revision on any children's story. So as I said, I'm going to use Where the Wild Things Are. And then I want them to make a presentation, like a book presentation for this. I did this presentation in Canva, and we have free accounts at my school. So I'm going to have them cut and paste the photos of the children's book right into Canva. And there's many ways in which you can do this. I got my pictures from a source called archive.org. It's a Project Gutenberg site, and they have pretty much any book you want in there. And I just cut and pasted the pictures from archive.org and put them into the Canva slide. But we also have a lot of children's books in our library, and students just use their phones for the most part and snap pictures and then upload them to Canva. So I'm going to retell the narrative of Where the Wild Things Are with Lisa's voice. They can choose any of the voices that we just looked at, and we can expand to that list, because I'm sure that that's not a exhaustive list. I'm looking for expressive syntax. I want them to practice everything that we've done in our Nuance Academy, especially with regards to rule number 18. And then I want to see a good deal of Tier 2 colloquial and vernacular. So always I'm peddling this question: what if we taught composition like Bob Ross teaches painting? And what you're going to see here is me Bob Rossing my composition, my instruction. I actually did the assignment so that I could provide students with a model and exemplar. You can use my models and exemplars with your students if you want. I will put the slides in the YouTube description down below, and you'll have access to them. So let's see some exemplars. Let's see how the Bob Ross of composition tackled this assignment. So you can see on the first page here, I just, like I said, cut and pasted, and then this is me retelling the story. So I'm just looking at the picture and I'm retelling the story. So sit down, sit tight, settle in for some story hour, because I'll read my whole revision for you right now. And again, pay attention to the voice, the rhythm, the flow, the Tier 2, the colloquial, the vernacular, and the sentence constructs. Let me tell of the ghoulish night Max wore his wolf suit and vicariously made mischief of one kind and another. His mother, sparse of patience for a snot-nosed bratty kid and his wanton tomfoolery, called him Wild Thing, and Max, embodying the primordial soul of Canis Lupus, quite in character chided, "I'll eat you up." So he was sent to bed without anything to eat. So you can see here, I do take some of the actual language from the story just to keep it germane and keep it authentically true to the story. So he actually does say, "I'll eat you up," and that's what gets him sent to his room without dinner. So I kept that. But you can see things like sparse, snot-nosed bratty kid, wanton tomfoolery, embodying, Canis Lupus, chided, right? Keep it up, but don't totally goon out. Stay in your wheelhouse and kind of oscillate between those voices. So the story continues to the next page. And so, not giving an iota of concern to the victuals his mother presumably burnt anyway, Max set sail on the mighty seas through a single night and a single day in search of that elusive it that pinged around the interior walls of his restless soul. And in and out of weeks and almost over a year to where the wild things are. So you can see, again, you don't need to write a ton on each page. You can stay true to the story and actually borrow lines from the stories that are essential to the story. And as if lassoing the horizon into his eager embrace, he came to the place where the wild things are and stoically mused at their empty gnashings and gnarly eyes and orthodontia all askew and in need of minty freshness. Like, I really like that page. Lassoing the horizon, eager embrace, right? Stoically mused, empty gnashes, gnarly eyes, orthodontia all askew. Right? This is the kind of stuff I want my kids to practice. Now, clearly they wouldn't do it to this hyper, but this is hyperbolic. They wouldn't do this on any of the FRQs for Lang or Lit, but as practice, I want them to practice this voice. Till Max made a myriad of magical hand gesticulations and said, "Be still," and subdued them with an unwavering and unblinking stare. And sensing that he could seize dominion and appoint himself king of the kingdom, he said, "Let the wild rompus start." So a lot of my quotes are quotes right from the story, just to keep, like I said, to keep it true and authentic. Whoever would have expected to see that the face of gaiety and the face of ferocity were one and the same? Together, Max and his comrades howled at the moon and untethered all the strings that kept their souls tied to things such as rules, order, and decorum. They hung from the low-hanging limbs of mighty trees and vowed that they'd never let anyone or anything control them, as if they were marionettes governed by the actions of another. Max, King of Kings, rode on the shoulders of giants, and each day was a celebration of his eternal gift to hold precious the gift of endless tomfoolery and shenanigans. The wild things adored their leader, and they were happy with bellies full of merriment and boyish wonder. So you can see here, I'm just teeter-tottering back and forth between that voice, playing with my sentence constructs. It's kind of a sandbox right now for the kids. But then, all of a sudden, Max's better knowing felt the pangs of guilt and nostalgia for his former life. From the horizon of a place he could not forget, he smelled something sumptuous, surely his mother's doing. Farewells and goodbyes can bring sorrow, but Max, despite the gnashed teeth roars and mangled claws extended to reel him back in, set sail for home. He sailed back over a year and months and weeks and days, and into the night where his spaghetti supper awaited him, with a slice of cake to top it all off. And that is my retelling of Where the Wild Things Are through the voice of Lisa Simpson. So as you can see here on this slide, these are some of the books that my students, nostalgically remember from their day when parents would read to them. And I have a whole bunch of books from when my kids were young too. So they just had fun with it, and I'll share some of their revisions. So a number of kids did The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which was hilarious. And If You Give a Mouse a Cookie was another popular revision that students did. And I'll share one of my better students did If You Give a Mouse a Cookie through the lens of Carrie Bradshaw from Sex and the City, and it was rip-roaring good. So that's it from here. If you have any questions or have any difficulty downloading the slides, feel free to give me an email at teachingwritingcoach@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything at all, just feel free to reach out. Know that I'm a lead teacher for National Writing Project and a lead contributor for NCTE. And if you want more information on any of our PDs or comings and goings, visit my website at teachinghowtowrite.com. So NWP and I run professional development all year long, and some is free, some's for a nominal fee. But if you go in the upper tab there, it says my NWP courses. You can see what I offer and all the other lead teachers at NWP. So fantastic organization and some of the best PD on the market. So that's it from here. Happy teaching and happy writing. I hope this is a fun activity for you and your students as we chase that unicorn point affectionately known as sophistication. Take care for now.